Hi, everybody. Thanks for jumping in here. We are very excited to kick off our webinar here. We're going to wait just a couple minutes as everybody starts filing in and getting ready to go, but we're super excited to have you here today talking about real-time data in our marketing strategies. So as you're coming in, a couple housekeeping issues or topics to cover off with you. Thanks, everybody, for joining. The numbers are jumping up. There is QA and there's also a chat function. So if you have questions as we're going along, please feel free to put any kind of commentary you want. If it's a specific question, definitely goes in the Q&A section. We will address those as we have time and as it fits. If we don't cover it during the main part of the conversation, we will pick those back up at the Q&A at the end of our conversation here today. If it's just kind of a comment, a sentiment, something that you're feeling in the moment and you're just overwhelmed with passion about it and you want to get it out there, put that in the chat. And we'd love to kind of get your feedback as we're going along to the different topics, the different comments that everybody is making here today. As everyone is joining, we are recording this. So if you have to duck out early, if you have friends, colleagues you want to share this with, we'll be sending the link around afterwards with the recording so you can go back and pick up any pieces that you may have missed or want to repeat or share this with whomever you think this would be a really good topic for, a really good conversation for. So that will be via email. We'll send that out to everybody just after the call has wrapped up here so that you can have that. It's also going to be available on TapClicks YouTube channel. So if you are following us there, go ahead and you can find us there as well. If you are looking for us, we'd love to have you guys follow and like us on YouTube as well for more content like this. And that's a great way of following kind of the latest and greatest that's going on with TapClicks in terms of our video content. And we do have a newsletter that we put out twice a month, one on AI specifically and how it's impacting all kinds of marketing business around the world. And then another one that's more of a generalized email that goes out that talks about some breaking product information from TapClicks, as well as articles from around the web that are really impactful for what everybody is doing. So I think we've got quorum here. Just one more time for everybody. We do have two different ways of interacting with us throughout the live session here. We do have the chat there. Please feel free to leverage that. If you do have a question, please feel free to put that into the QA section. And without any further ado, let me jump right in. We have Lindsey Shedd today with us from Beekeepers, and we have Bradley Keefer here from Keen. We don't have Jason Statham here. If anybody liked the Beekeeper movie, that is not what we're talking about today. I am not Jason Statham. I do not have a British accent, so I'm sorry if there was any disappointment in the crowd with that. But those are our panelists today. We'll go into some more detail with them, but we're super excited to be bringing you the conversation of real-time marketing today. Data is not always the thing that people like jump out of their seat excited about, but I think as we get into this, you're really going to find that what we have to cover off today is massively impactful into everything you're doing in all aspects of your life, whether you're a brand looking to help streamline your marketing data and do better at advertising and improving all of your campaigns, or whether you're an agency really looking to help scale everything you're doing there and provide better solutions and better results for your clients and create better sticky clients through that. I think this impacts everybody across the board. So without any further ado, if you guys are following along, we're right in the middle of our introductions, and we're going to jump in, talk to our panelists, our discussions, and then again, we have the audience QA portion at the end. So feel free to do that. Again, if you have questions along the way, if something's not making sense or you want clarification on a certain point we're making, feel free to jump into that Q&A. Let us know what your questions are, and we'll get going. To get everybody warmed up, right? This is not just a dialogue, a one-way discussion. This is an engagement thing. So get your fingers ready. Let's jump into the chat. If anybody feels motivated, let's say real-time data in the chat. Let's make sure everybody's chat works. Make sure your fingers work, right? This is the icebreaker where everybody gets up and starts moving about and doing things. We want you guys fully engaged with us throughout the conversation today. So if you want to put that in the chat, say real-time data in the chat, that is what we are talking about today. So here are our panelists. We have them nicely presented on the slide here for you, but Lindsey is the Senior Director of E-commerce and Growth at Beekeepers. Lindsey, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited for this.
Yeah, Bradley is the CRO for Keen, and he is the solution provider, bringing everything today and kind of tying everything else up for us, and tying it all together for us and showing what the real results are going to be. As the revenue officer, he is going to be really focused on that revenue component and showing us what the impact of all the solution we're going to be talking about today really has on your bottom line. So super happy to have you here today, Bradley. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kevin, and the rest of the TapClicks team for inviting us in and being able to tell a story about how our systems come together. So appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right. While we got you up and while we got your fingers moving, we have a audience quiz for you. So we're talking about spreadsheets today. That's part of what we're going through and what we're really trying to focus on. You know, a lot of things, that's the dirty little secret about marketing, is we still live in spreadsheets. No matter how much we want to try to get away from it, we still end up being stuck in spreadsheet dilemma more often than not. And to borrow a phrase from all the middle schoolers and middle school parents who will understand this, sometimes spreadsheets just don't have the riz, right? So we want to see, how can we streamline that? How can we do better? How many of you are using spreadsheet systems to execute your media plan? And how many spreadsheets are you using? So that's the quiz we have on the screen there for you. Throw that into the chat. Let us know what you have. More than I can count. Yeah, isn't that the truth? We end up with many more spreadsheets, kind of find ourselves lost in spreadsheets sometimes. There's the quiz right on the screen. Feel free to jump in and throw that up there. We'll figure out, oh man, more than I can count is winning at this point. A lot of people are in a lot of spreadsheets. I can feel your pain for sure. Couple more seconds on that. Love the comment. Love Excel, but it's not automated enough. That is exactly what we're talking about today. So thank you all for jumping in. We've got 39% more than I can count on the spreadsheets. That is the overall winner. Thank you guys for that. We'll post those results. There's your results from the audience poll. Fun little way to get everybody engaged, but you're not alone, right? If you said that you have more than you can count spreadsheets, you are not alone out there. And that is exactly where we are. So we're feeling your pain. We're addressing that today, and we're going to keep chugging along and talk about how this actually comes to fruition, real-time data, and how we can really improve your marketing solutions out there. So here's just a quick kind of overall rundown. TapClicks, as you guys know or may not know, if you're new for the first time hearing about TapClicks, we're a smart marketing platform. We really bring all data sources together for you, both online and offline, consolidate all that information, and then allow you to visualize that information. Throughout the process, we streamline everything through automation and through systems that allow you to streamline a lot of that daily drudgery that we see a lot of people are suffering through and kind of going through. We allow for automated analytics, workflow processes, order processes where you automatically push orders to some of your most popular platforms out there. If you're doing Facebook or Google or what have you, you can literally stay in one platform and push campaigns out to multiple different platforms, saving you so much time and energy, plus having check marks along the way to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do to launch campaigns, to check campaigns, and to make sure that it all kind of comes back to you in a reporting platform that automates that reporting, again, moving you away from spreadsheets and all the dilemma that goes around with the spreadsheets there. So Keen really is optimizing the way that we look at that data, and they're creating some actionable insights from that data. And that's really where we're moving from that manual process to an automated process, leveraging their AI engine to really help us understand where we can make better optimizations on all that data that's coming in. So it's really, you know, a hand-in-glove solution here with TapClicks consolidating the data and Keen analyzing that data and giving you better insights and making you smarter about everything that comes along with that. So the combined power there is really what we're talking about today. And Lindsey is going to be sharing with us kind of the impact of that in a real world application, like how this all comes together, right? And that's kind of the whole goal today. So Lindsey, as we kick off, sorry, the last thing is the reason this all makes sense is the 25% lift, right? That's the real result that we're looking for here. And Bradley's going to kind of continue to hammer on that point. As a revenue officer, that's what he's looking for, is what's the impact of this? How is this going to really change my bottom line? So that 25% lift in marketing influenced revenue from the marketing campaigns directly and attributable to that is why we're looking at all of this today. Sorry, now Lindsey, I jumped the gun there. So Beekeepers, can you give us just the quick 30 seconds on Beekeepers for those that are not exactly familiar with the brand? I know we're in back to school. This may be a sidebar, something that all the parents out there want to know about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Beekeepers Naturals, we're a bee products company. We provide clean formulations of supplements and medicines. So you might be familiar with our Propolis throat spray. That's our #1 seller and is actually the #1 product on Amazon in the cold and flu category. If you're on TikTok, you've probably seen some of our viral products as well, our bee pollen and our brain fuel. We're sold through beekeepersnaturals.com, which is our direct-to-consumer site, as well as you can find us at Amazon, Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Sam's Club. So we're a little bit of everywhere. And yeah, stock up on Propolis leading into cold and flu season. It is such a game changer for immune support. And you can read like our 21,000 5-star reviews on Amazon.
And as the head of e-commerce, we want you to go to their website and buy it instead of going to Target to buy it. Just a little help Lindsey out, right?
Wherever it makes sense.
Yes, for sure, wherever it makes sense. So thank you for that. One of the things that Lindsey does as part of the Beekeepers environment is really looking at all the different campaigns that are going on and figuring out what works best, right? How many people recognize that as their solution, right? They're always looking at ways to make their campaigns better, more engaging, more impactful, and translate to the bottom line more revenue, both for B2C and B2B. That's really where we're all about. So, Lindsey, you had a lot of data that was coming in, and kind of tell us a little bit about what you were looking at and kind of just the high level of all the data you were looking at.
Yeah, for sure. So, Beekeepers started as a direct-to-consumer online-only business about 7 years ago. And, we evolved throughout the digital landscape. And, 2020 was a very big year for us with COVID and everything. So e-commerce was really the heart and center of our business. But much more recently, our retail business has been a big strategic priority for us. And when you're looking at marketing data across an omni-channel business, the digital side is sometimes fairly easy to understand what's happening. You have your channels that are driving traffic, and you can see some direct response performance metrics for those. But when you're starting to look at higher level, top of funnel marketing performance, and you're trying to evaluate that across an omni-channel business, and especially the impact on retail and foot traffic, that was really challenging for us. And we're looking at things, as we've all been talking about already, in a number of spreadsheets in platform. We have a multi-touch attribution system, and really trying to piece together all of the data from these different kind of inputs and systems. And that was really challenging for us. We couldn't find a great way to understand how our marketing was impacting our retail business in particular, but really across the whole business, understanding how different parts of the marketing programs were working together to elevate the top line.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned before the level of effort involved in collecting the data. You had a lot of people manually working on it, a lot of team members doing that. It was a big time consumption process to try to generate that additional revenue. Tell us a little bit about that collection process and the number of spreadsheets. Maybe you should have responded to the poll before, but the number of spreadsheets you guys were having to go through as well.
Yeah, I mean, so we have channel owners across the various parts of the business. So we have a Amazon channel owner, a direct-to-consumer channel owner, a retail channel owner, and then members of each of those individuals' teams that are helping to support the marketing activities across the business. And each of those individuals is maintaining their own data set, individual to their area of responsibility. And they're all set up differently and they're not talking to each other. And, some of the data is being manually inputted from in-platform data or the multi-touch attribution system data. And so, again, like not a great way to kind of take everything together and zoom out and understand how all of those things are working together. And so, we sit together as a team very frequently. Like I have the benefit of Beekeepers being a relatively small company. And so we're talking together a lot. But even at a small company like ours, there's, silos and things are happening in certain areas and they aren't talking to each other. And some data is being looked at in one area, not in another. So again, a lot of moving parts and pieces involved, and we never, it was really challenging for us to come out of that with like a clear insight on how our marketing was driving our business.
Yeah, I mean, how many people can feel that same pain, right? We got so many different channels, so many different things that we're doing. Plus, then you add social media on top of it. Where's the data actually coming from, and where are the sales coming from, and where is my best spend made? So we had Keen shows up and they say, we can do all these amazing things for you. What was your initial perception when, we all are pitched things on a regular basis, right? We're all in marketing, we all get pitched by everybody. So when they came in, they said, hey, we can streamline all this, we can make you smarter, we can make you better. It sounds almost too good to be true, right? What was your initial perception of how they were talking about their overall solution?
Yeah, well, I was somewhat familiar with the MMM model for marketing attribution. And, historically, and I'm sure Bradley can dive into this a little bit more, but it's a very time intensive process that takes almost a year to get insights out of. And then once you have those insights, you're starting all over again. It's not real time, like additive for what's currently happening in the business. And so I was a little bit skeptical from that standpoint, but I also kind of, as a data-driven marketer myself, I've been in the digital space my entire career. I was really optimistic about the possibility of a smart, like statistical model being able to help us better and understand the impact of our marketing investments. Especially if it has the right inputs, all the pieces of data that live in all of those spreadsheets. But, another thing I was skeptical about was whether we would, learn anything new from this. Like I mentioned, we have all of our in-platform data. We have a multi-touch attribution model that's giving us some information about how these things are working together to a limited extent. So I was curious on whether, going through this process, we would actually get some insights that, were new and would help us, better make data-driven decisions.
Yeah. So Bradley, as you guys are coming together and, looking at these different kinds of things, top of funnel is really where people struggle a lot, right? Because you get so many people coming into the top of the funnel and then working them down through. How is that? Is that an area where you guys focus on in terms of helping people understand better where their top of funnel is coming from and how that's applying to the bottom line?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of, challenges in the marketplace today because of the fact that we're making decisions from an execution level and like all these like disparate sources, right? So, as Lindsey's talking about, it's like I've got my Amazon person who's over here pitching about how amazing the ROAS is, and then the Google person's talking about how great search is, and our perspective is always like, yeah, but if you guys add up all of your ROASs, your business should be way bigger than it is. Like, how come it's not that big? And it's like, oh, because there's interaction effects, and then there's challenges like Lindsey's talking about for brands of a similar size that are like, I built this business on Amazon or on D2C or D2C and Amazon. And I know I need brick and mortar, but it's a different audience, it's a different path. So therefore I need brand awareness. But there's always this risk of like, well, how do I go back to the CFO or go back to our VCPE and say, I need this incremental investment and here's how it plays out? And the reason that that fails so often is because you don't have the data and the model beyond gut feel and intuition to actually show the impact on revenue. Because a lot of those platforms are focused, and a lot of the agency partners we work with are like, how do I move beyond the reach and frequency conversation, move beyond the ROAS conversation, and acknowledge that all of these dollars have synergies or interaction effect. But I also don't want to cannibalize my business as I launch into brick and mortar. Like, I don't want to just all of a sudden lose my D2C and lose my Amazon. So it's like you're actually balancing so many challenges, which is like new distribution with, the CFO's half skeptical of if marketing even works anyway, with all of a sudden I've got execution and I've got data that like says all these things. Well, the challenge is like you have three different levels of problems and the person holding the purse strings doesn't even really believe anything you say anyway. So like you're just presented with this like really tough spot as a marketer where it's like, I've got nothing but data, but the problem is I can't make a decision based off of all of this data. And that's essentially what Lindsey's saying from our perspective is like, how do we put all the dollars into the center of the table and acknowledge that there is a measurement capability for marketers to validate their gut feel, for the platforms to all acknowledge they work together, and to show that long-term, multi-year up to 3-year trajectory of the business that can be influenced by the interaction between distribution gains and marketing investment gains and category movement and things like that. So being able to put all that into a single holistic model is really where we're differentiating. So again, it's like simplifying, it's like building that bridge between strategy and execution while building the bridge between marketing and finance. That's really Keen's sweet spot. And that's really where we see that 25% lift come from. It's not a magic formula. It's essentially putting all of those folks together and acknowledging there is a better way to measure and build decisions.
Yeah. You guys should rebrand yourself to Bridge Builders or Duolingo or whatever the
Yeah.
help people translate between, because you're right. So oftentimes finance looks at marketing as a cost center, not a profit center, right? You're changing that nomenclature, you're changing that perception to be a profit center instead of a cost center. And that's those words, the terminology that finance really needs to come to grips with, and that's what they respond best to, instead of intuition or feelings, right? They like the hard data, and that's really what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, and really where we win them over is when I actually out forecast the CFOs, because I'm taking into consideration that long-term impact of marketing. There's so many times where a lot of our engagements start with marketing teams, and actually the finance teams become the main contract signer because I'm actually a better input to their financial models and their forecasting models than oftentimes their own internal models. And it really is, again, an input.
And you talk about 3-year planning. I mean, so often as marketers, we're in like this week, like what are we doing this week? There's no way for us to get beyond just what's right in front of us to do that 3-year plan, to have a longer vision for things. And if you're able to get us out of the weeds and into that more strategic vision perspective, man, what a game changer that is for all of us.
For sure. And that's, we spend a lot of our implementation period at the beginning really talking through the change management and the mindset shift beyond just the tool, right? It's like, I know why you have this perception. I know why the team has this perception. It's because they've been pumped with just like what, CFOs or finance teams consider to be like useless metrics, right? It's just like, it just doesn't make sense because you're not speaking in that language of like net present value. You're speaking in brand awareness. Right. And then it's like all of a sudden I'm running this top of the funnel campaign, as Lindsey's talking about. And it's like, if only I hit 3 more household penetration points. It's like, I can build you a model that hits 5 more household penetration points. It doesn't mean it's going to translate to P&L because you might hit the wrong households. And so like, how do you kind of bring these things together? And this is where you're really finding that balance between strategy and execution comes into play. And I think the other thing is relates to that is like the channel proliferation that's happened at the bottom of the funnel has forced marketers to stay in the weeds, where you're constantly executing, but it's like, well, because Walmart's now telling me I have to do this, and then Target's telling me I have to do this. And then like, now all of a sudden you zoom out and you're just like, I'm buying connected TV, but I'm actually talking about OTT. Well, like, what's the difference? And then like, I'm buying premium through CTV, but I also like, I'm getting this offer from Amazon. there's just too many decisions that folks are trying to make, which is why it's like we have to move beyond the slow manual data collection, and we have to move beyond individual channel measurement and aggregation of measurement, from individual channels into this holistic approach.
Absolutely. Man, if anybody would love to have a 3-year plan put together for you and dropped in your lap, put that into chat, say 3-year plan, and that'll help inspire us further, right? We could all use a 3-year plan. So that's a background, right? That's where we came from. Lindsey, you got in, you got to see exactly how everything works. You got to see some of the consolidation. Tell us a little bit about that new consolidated look and kind of the new model that you guys have available to you now. And just give us a flavor for kind of a then versus now kind of scenario.
Sure, yeah. So we launched with Keen at the beginning of this year, and our goal in the initial implementation was to leverage our marketing data and investment data 2 years back. So we had a 2-year view of how all of these channels were performing for us and driving the business. So we worked with the team and got that up and running. TapClicks really helped us bring in all of the data from all of our various platforms very efficiently. We only had a few spreadsheets that we had to use during the process. TapClicks really helped eliminate a lot of that. But we took about 8 weeks to get our initial data model set up, as we wanted to add in some additional data from recent weeks as we were doing the initial setup. And yeah, we started using our first model, I would say at the beginning of Q2, and we started making investment decisions based off of that right after that. And so now we have a view of, when we spend X on Google, what profit ROI are we expecting to get from that spend? And what is our point of diminishing returns, which is a really important metric for us as a, relatively small company that's growing quickly and really looking to make sure that our investments are placed in the right place and we're not over investing in any one area, which is ultimately leading to diminishing returns. So we have a really clear view of that now. We have a look at how much we should be spending across all of these various tactics, and we're working together as an integrated marketing team to make shifts to our budget as we have these models to leverage. And we've
Amazing,
really
right?
made some great changes already within the first few months of that.
So you're able to take
I just want to highlight.
Oh yeah.
I just want to highlight something quick there. We kind of glossed over it, but it was an important piece, which is like Lindsey said, we have an idea of launching this model to answers in hand in 8 weeks or less, right? And part of that delay was waiting for more data. As Lindsey mentioned at the beginning, like in marketing mix world, like that's unheard of. Keen has actually launched models in a week for brands who have like data structured in Snowflake or something to that effect. Where Lindsey's team was able to go from we have nothing to a full model build out with plans in hand in 8 weeks. So I just want to highlight like that's essentially what we're unlocking, and then the ability to then do refreshes in near real time. But again, I just want to highlight that because it's like we glossed over that huge value prop, right? Which is like unheard of in the consulting based marketing mix world. So sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
No, that's great. That's exactly the point I was trying to drive home with everybody here. Not only were you able to do that initial consolidation, 2 years worth of data across all your channels in a couple, 3 weeks, now you have a repeatable process that you can continue to drive quarter by quarter, month by month, however often you want to do it. You're able to be as smart as anybody else with all this historical data in repetition, and you can set it up to be automated going forward, right? So all that data then funnels in, it gets dropped in, and then it's delivered back to you on a regular basis. That's amazing, right? That's transformational for most marketing teams.
Yeah, it is. It's our plan to update the model every quarter now and update our marketing budgets accordingly and our revenue plans. So it's been very quick for us to get to that point.
Now, as marketers, we always have preconceived notions of things that we've done that have worked, whether they're based on data or they're based on assumptions. it seems like this process has also surfaced some things that allow you to dispel some of those preconceived notions, maybe about delivery times that work better, like certain months that work better than other months. Can you just, obviously it's unique to you, but share some of the insights that may be more general that people can see from this?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of really interesting insights came out of this. I mean, I think one in particular is that, we all as marketers think we understand the value of top of funnel spend, but like we've been talking about, it's really hard to track that spend through the funnel and really understand how much of your revenue it's helping to drive. And so our new models really proved out to us that top of funnel spend, in particular top of funnel spend on specific channels and platforms, is really effective for driving our business and for helping our bottom of funnel spend work more efficiently. So that was a really important unlock for us, because to the conversation of proving this out to the finance team, that's the kind of data that's extremely important, because you're not able to point to a ROAS or a direct in-platform ROAS for some of those tactics. And then specifically for us, we had one area of spend that was one of our highest kind of categories of spend since we started the business. And we felt very strongly that that category was driving the overall business, because we had direct response data for how it was driving one of our channels. But when we got the initial model, that showed us that actually that channel of spend was not as impactful at driving the overall top line. So for one individual channel, it was impactful, but it wasn't as strong at driving the overall business for us as some of the other channels that we could be investing more in. So it identified some low-hanging fruit for us to switch or to shift some of our marketing investment from that channel to other top of funnel platforms and tactics that were more impactful for us. And those are some of the changes that we've made already, leveraging the model.
That's fantastic. As we start to look into the future, changing from subjective decision making to objective decision making is really where all this data starts to funnel in and allows us to kind of shift our mentality about that. And as you see, and Lindsey, maybe you can comment also, when you have objective data in front of you, does it seem like the decisions are easier to make and people's personalities kind of move to the outside and you're able to make decisions without people getting upset or feel like you're encroaching on their little fiefdom there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have a really collaborative team at Beekeepers, and we're all, putting the health of the business and the performance of the overall business at the forefront of everything we do. But at the same time, some of the insights that came out of our initial models with Keen indicated that we should take from one person's budget and move it to another, just based on, what the performance data was showing us. And I think that really helped us as we went through that process, because without that data, I could see it being a lot more contentious of a conversation.
Right.
But we were able to really approach that in kind of a diplomatic way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're all aligned with the changes at this point.
Bradley, so far we've talked a lot about direct-to-consumer kind of solutions that Lindsey has brought to the table, but what Keen has, what TapClicks has also is not limited to e-commerce brands or direct-to-consumer brands. Really goes much beyond that. So you and I were talking offline about the application to B2B brands as well. Can you give us a little bit of flavor for, this year, next year, what can direct to or a business to business agencies, business to business brands learn from the direct to consumer side of things, and how can they leverage this going forward?
Yeah, I mean, Keen has a lot of business in the consumer packaged goods. We also work in hospitality and airlines and things like that, but we're also working in B2B, as you mentioned. And a lot of times the model itself is different, which is not surprising. So the elasticities and the actual model that we use is different behind the scenes. but really it's the frame. So we talk about things in a decision frame more so than a lot of others out there. Like we're focused on like, what is the question you're trying to answer and what is the decision you're trying to make? Because again, we're a future looking solution. So for B2B, myself included, so I run our entire sales and marketing organization, and we're looking at optimizing new channels all the time. Because as our brand continues to grow, it's like my marketing budget gets bigger. So what ends up happening is I'm looking at like, well, what's the next best channel that I should be spending in? So utilizing Keen's marketing elasticity engine or priors database, I know from an educated perspective, utilizing our system and our system of priors, I know which are the next 1 or 2 channels that I should add and how they'll actually impact interaction effect to drive a response variable, which for me is, pipeline. So I'm looking at like net new opportunities created and what does that outbound motion, need to look like as opposed to the inbound motion. And I think that's one thing anybody in B2B will tell you, that if you look at life post-COVID, we are in a very different B2B world, especially those on the software side, where it's just like outbound doesn't work anymore the same way it used to. The CAC has gone up dramatically, right? So now I need to shift my financial model, but I need to be able to prove out the business case of why I'm shifting to what channel with what timing strategy and things like that. All of those answers can show up out of our platform. So that's really what we're focused on in the B2B world, is understanding how the market has shifted, how the elasticities or the performance has shifted, and therefore what the best buying plan should be for established brands or growing brands who are trying to drive toward a response variable of net new pipeline created, as an example.
Yeah. So this is, for existing companies, it sounds like you've got a great thing in place, but you also talked about growing companies. And what we know about growing companies is they're constantly adding new product lines and new things to go after. So you help not only just existing core business, but you also help figure out how much needs to be spent on new expansion, new growth, or new product departments as well, right? Can you outline that a little bit for us?
Yeah, for sure. So Keen's existed for 15 years. So we have about 40 years of academic research, which creates a foundation for our meta model. There's a lot of work that's done in academia around elasticities and the influence of marketing dollars on human buying behavior, like marketing psychology from a data science perspective has kind of fed this meta model. And then Keen optimizes about 15 years worth of metadata inside of that meta model. And it's categorized by industry, by company type, by top line revenue, by bottom line revenue. So when we build a starting model for you, it is a customized model that's based off of this 15 years of metadata. And then every single day, we optimize about $4.5 billion in marketing budgets in our system. Every time someone loads new information, it becomes anonymized and feeds this meta model, which is how I understand things like, meta a year ago is not the same as meta today. The way impressions are counted has changed. The way the cost pers has changed. And in fact, they're going to change again. They're changing right now in the short term for election. So having a living and breathing system that understands from a meta model perspective allows me to then have a starting point. So therefore, if you're going to go launch a product, so let's just use Beekeeper as an example. I'm going to go and say, I have this core product and I'm going to go spin off and launch, some kids items, right? The question that Lindsey is trying to ask is, how much should I put into innovation? Well, what ends up happening right now is in most organizations, it becomes a siloed initiative where it's like, I've got this innovation team over here. And usually they have like R&D money, right? So there's some kind of like separate funds that come out of the P&L that fuels innovation. What we would challenge is, well, let's actually look at how Lindsey can come back and say, how do we utilize the halo from this core master brand and launch into this new category? And there's a way at which you could execute your marketing plan that allows you to kind of spin off products based off of your projected, in this case, projected distribution or projected price point or projected category trend, and how much of that you think you could capture against how much Keen thinks you could capture out of our meta model. So it's this ability for us to launch products. And we've launched products like Astapro for Bayer. Jif launched a new chocolate peanut butter product. And we worked with a B2B company who was selling telecom solution. They launched a new, B2B business internet solution. So like, it's not just in the CPG world, it's also in the B2B world. How do I launch this new product and maximize that halo between those different product lines, which usually means that you can spend less dollars establishing the business and more dollars kind of accelerating that growth. And we've seen that with most innovation, we're able to accelerate that time to growth down to about a 6-month time period, where before it was like, let's go try it. And that's like, that's not working. Let's try something else. And that's not working until you find the right thing. So we've basically created critical mass in about 6 months for most of these products, which means just less time, with opportunity lost, basically, is how we'd position it.
And you're also helping people who, as marketers, right? We're a little bit jealous of our own budgets, but if somebody, a brand launches a new product, oftentimes they'll just take from the core advertising and put that towards that new innovation, the new product, right? So now the core suffers and you're trying out this new product at the same time. Your model allows people to be smarter about how they structure that and not cut the legs out from underneath them by taking the marketing budget around their core business, but parsing off and allocating new budget to that new innovation, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's really looking at it from a short, medium, and long-term perspective. Some of the times those decisions are made is because there's a very short-sighted focus, which is no different than like if I play that out, the same concept on the other side is like anytime there's economic turmoil or cost is coming in a little bit higher, finance teams, and not to pick on them, right? But finance teams go, I know where I can cut budget. I've got an idea. It's marketing, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden they go ask the marketer, what could you do with 20% less? And it's like, well, I could do these things and I could shift to the bottom of the funnel and I could still hit the unit target. But then it's like 6 months later, that same team's coming back saying, how come we're behind on the revenue projection? It's like, well, I've got an idea. Like you just cut marketing over here, right? And that's where it's like looking at things at bottom of the funnel in short-sighted 30 or 60-day ROIs leads brands to erode their brand. What Keen is enabling is brands to find that sweet spot in top and bottom of the funnel, that ratio, understanding that true long-term net present value or a quantifiable revenue of brand equity, right? Marketers speaking in the language of brand awareness and brand equity. Keen provides a quantifiable dollar to that to be able to say, well, I can meet you at cutting 20%, but if you do, here's where the sacrifice shows up at month 18.
Right.
And that same concept happens in innovation where it's like, let's launch it, it takes off, and then it plateaus, and then they say, oh, it's a failed innovation. It's actually not. It's usually that you didn't support the sliding scale, which is as you grow, your marketing budget needs to grow with it because they can't see that full picture.
That's amazing. That's like a telescope into the future, helping us to plan more appropriately. Because we've all had those conversations, right? What can you do with less? And they cut, and then they wonder why this isn't performing as well. Well, if you can plan that ahead of time, then everybody knows what the consequences are going to be. And when you need to funnel that money back in, makes all of our lives so much easier. That's amazing that you guys can get those models in place and help us be more efficient about that. Now, all of this kind of comes together around the data acquisition solution, just self-serving pitch at the end, right? TapClicks is really all about bringing all of that data together. We are the platform that empowers the rest of this all to happen. So if you haven't tried out TapClicks, really encourage you to try it. We've got a 14-day free trial we can get you on. You have any questions, please feel free to reach out to marketing. We can help get you in the right direction for that. But thank you guys. As we are wrapping it up, we've covered so much ground, but here's a little pop quiz for everybody at the end. What percentage of increase of marketing influence revenue do new clients see from working with Keen? Go ahead and throw that in the chat, and we're going to pick one winner out of the chat for something special. So throw your answer into the chat, and we'll see who is the winner of that at the end here. So we got a few people. See if you can throw your answer in there. See if you were paying attention. Everybody's going to want to get the prize at the end there. We'll give one more second there for people to throw their answer into chat, and then we'll move to the QA section there. Anybody else want to participate in that? All right, we've got our winner there. Thank you so much. The answer for all of you was the 25% was the lift that they saw within the first year. So if you're interested in a 3-year plan, if you're interested in a 25% lift, let's have that conversation today. So thanks to everybody for joining. Thank you, my panelists. This was a phenomenal conversation. Loved it so much. We are into the QA section now. So if you guys have any other additional questions, things we didn't cover, specific details you want to cover off on, please throw those into the QA section. We'll be happy to take them at your leisure. We do have, before you jump, we do have a couple different special offers for you. Keen, if you're interested, we do have a 20% off offer with Keen for people who are on the TapClicks platform and interested in trying that out. And for those of you who are lovers of Beekeepers as we are, they are offering you a limited time 20% off site-wide, which is phenomenal. They don't do this very often. They came above and beyond for us. So use that code on beekeepers.com, beekeepersnaturals.com, sorry, and you can get 20% off everything site-wide there. So please make sure that you write down that code. Be sure to use it. That is a limited time offer that goes through the end of September. So if you're seeing this other times, it's not going to be good forever. So go ahead and jump on there. And here's to your health with great beekeeper stuff. So any additional questions, please feel free to jump in and throw those in there. We'll leave the QA section open for a few more minutes. But otherwise, Lindsey, thank you so much for the insights and sharing and being vulnerable to share kind of the good, bad, and the phenomenal that you guys are experiencing over there at Beekeepers. Loved having you on. Loved that conversation. And Bradley, thanks so much for sharing from a revenue perspective how this transforms marketing into something that is very objective and very actionable. I love that 3-year plan that you guys helped put together for people. I know that almost every marketer would love to come on board and see kind of what a 3-year plan looks like and then help activate that and drive towards that. So any other questions come in, we will direct them to you. If you guys have further questions after this, please feel free to reach out to us. marketing@tapclicks.com is the email you can use. We will get back to you. We'll get you in the right direction. We'll answer any additional questions you have. You can go and find our free trial on our website, tapclicks.com as well. But other than that, looks like we are all done here. Again, guys, thanks so much. Thanks everybody for attending, and we'll look forward to talking to you all later.